Welcome in to Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. 2 days until Thanksgiving 2019. I hope all of you are having fantastic Tuesdays wherever you may be across the country or around the world, as the case may be. We got a lot to get to here on the Tuesday edition of the show. We're going to talk a lot about the Ravens and the Rams. What in the world happened last night, Monday Night Football in L.A., for both good and bad. NFL top 5, bottom 5, Lamar Jackson mania rages across the social media streets, and PETA, whatever you want to call them, has called for an end to the UGA mascot. All that still to come. But we began with what happened on Monday Night Football. Now, going to get to Lamar Jackson in a moment, but I want to talk about the collapse of the Rams in the space of 1 year. Almost exactly a year ago, we had the 54-51 game between the Rams and the Chiefs, which was supposed to herald a revolution in the world of the NFL. Offense would never be overwhelmed by defense again. That was the talk that was going to take place after that 54-51 game. And that game, more so than any other, I would say, launched Sean McVay onto his celebrity coaching status. The idea that he was going to be a stand-in for the next Bill Belichick, the Bill Belichick of his era. And the talk was that Jared Goff had come into his own. And out of that game, which made the Rams 10-1 and the Chiefs 9-2, came several interesting discussion points. Todd Gurley, the best running back in the NFL. Jared Goff, the best young quarterback in the NFL. And Sean McVay, the best young coach in the NFL. And all of that was supposed to herald the rise of their dynasty. And so as you break down this storyline, I want you to think about how rapidly things have changed in 1 year. It's a cliche, but the NFL stands for not for long. In the space of 1 calendar year and 1 week, 53 days, 53 weeks, we have seen Sean McVay go from a guy whose offense can post 54 points and can't be stopped by anyone in the LA Coliseum to a team that cannot score a single offensive touchdown. We have seen Jared Goff go from the highest paid quarterback in the history of football from a guaranteed dollar perspective, $110 million, to a guy who hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in nearly a month. The last touchdown pass that Jared Goff threw was October 27th of this year on the road against the Bengals in London for the Rams. And the Rams have gone from Super Bowl favorite, even Super Bowl contender, to a team that is unlikely to make the playoffs this year. How has all of that happened? It comes back and circles back around to the NFL being a not-for-long league. Everything was going perfectly for Sean McVay, Jared Goff, and Todd Gurley last year. Now all three of them look outdated. Amazingly, 3 guys got jobs in the offseason just because they were connected in some way to Sean McVay. Cliff Kingsbury, Zach Taylor, and Matt LaFleur. Now all 3 of those guys are connected to Sean McVay, but he doesn't look as much like a genius as he did beforehand. How does that happen? The NFL catches up with whatever you do on the offensive side of the ball. And the NFL has caught up with Sean McVay, at least for now. He doesn't have the ability to utilize Todd Gurley. Jared Goff can't throw the ball because there's no threat from the running game. And as a result, the Rams are an average NFL team. And Jared Goff looks like the most overpaid quarterback maybe in the history of the NFL, and Sean McVay's genius has disappeared in the space of a year. All right, that is the Rams story. Now let's talk about the Ravens. The Ravens are indisputably on a hot streak right now. They've won 7 games in a row since they started 2-2. Lamar Jackson is on fire. Greg Roman is on fire from a play calling perspective, the entire offensive line. They ran the ball 48 times. The only time they lost yardage last night, the Ravens did, was on 3 kneel downs for RG3. Everything that they touch turns to gold right now. But I am a skeptic. when everyone believes that someone is a can't-miss prospect and that things will continue on this trajectory forever, I tend to say, wait a minute. If you watch this show, if you listen to my show, I wasn't a believer in Baker Mayfield coming into this year, even though everybody else wanted to herald him as the next great thing. If you watch and listen to this show, you know I said I wouldn't have given Jared Goff the money that the Rams gave him. And I do not believe that what we have seen from Lamar Jackson so far in 19 games is going to continue forever. We saw a preview of this last year. Lamar Jackson came in, caught the league on fire, and then the Chargers debuted a defense that the Ravens weren't prepared for and embarrassed them in the playoffs. So far this year, in the last 7 games, the Ravens have been getting better and better. All right? I am not of the belief that the long-range success of a quarterback is going to pan out if he is a running quarterback. Now, a lot of people say, well, what do you mean? There's lots of quarterbacks who run. There's a difference between quarterbacks who run and running quarterbacks. Russell Wilson is a quarterback who runs. He drops back to pass, and if the play collapses around him, he runs to gain yardage. That's an ideal universe what Marcus Mariota would have been. It's what he was at Oregon for his entire career, and at times it's what he was in the NFL with the Titans. There are a lot of quarterbacks who drop back to pass and then end up running. Running quarterbacks do not work. Quarterbacks who run do work, okay? So, I think this is fascinating. I think all of the evidence supports me on running quarterbacks don't work. Whether it's RG3, whether it's Tim Tebow, whether it's Johnny Manziel, whether it is Vince Young, whether it is Colin Kaepernick, the mania here starts and it takes off and it eventually blows up. I got a couple of stats for you. At times it appeared that Colin Kaepernick was going to take over this league and no one was ever going to be able to keep up with what he did. Colin Kaepernick mania before the knees were taken with Greg Roman took this entire NFL by storm. It led to Ron Jaworski saying that Colin Kaepernick was going to be the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. And then what happened? The NFL caught up with him. Colin Kaepernick, remember this, in 2013 in the playoffs, threw for 263 yards, ran and 2 touchdowns, and also ran for 181 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 2013 playoff game. Everybody said the game in the NFL had been forever changed. A couple of years later, Colin Kaepernick was benched for Blaine Gabbert. My point here is pretty straightforward. The NFL catches up with whatever you do, and you have to constantly evolve. And I am of the opinion that the only thing that works long-term in the NFL is being a consistent pocket passing quarterback. Period. That is what works in the NFL in the long term. You can be a flash-in-the-pan, couple-of-year guy, potentially, who runs and creates all sorts of matchup issues. But ultimately, if you want to become a long-range passer in the NFL, you have to be able to consistently perform from the pocket, and you need to not run because the data all supports that you get hit too many times and you get crushed and it doesn't work out for you. Now, I am in favor of all of that data, all right? That's important, relevant data. We have entered already in social media into a really strange universe that I can only compare, if you heard me on the radio this morning, to the universe we were in when Black Panther the movie came out. Do you remember when Black Panther the movie came out? If you said anything on social media other than this is the greatest movie that has ever been made, then you had absolutely no ability to share that opinion anywhere. You were not allowed to say what was the truth, which was Black Panther was an average Marvel superhero movie. It was nowhere near as good as the movies starring The Dark Knight, the Christopher Nolan trilogy. It's not as good as the Avenger movies. It wasn't as good as Iron Man. It was nowhere near as good as many of the Marvel movies were, but it wasn't the worst either. It was 100% an average comic book movie. But if you said anything other than the Black Panther is the greatest film that has ever existed in the history of mankind, you were called racist on social media. This is 100% true. And I feel like the same thing is happening now with Lamar Jackson. He's having a very good year. Should be the favorite to win the MVP right now based on what he is doing. But the idea that he is the greatest quarterback ever, or that it is somehow racist to question his longevity or his sustainability as a quarterback, is fundamentally broken and represents the sports version of Black Panther. You can't say anything other than Lamar Jackson is the greatest quarterback who's ever lived, or you're racist, according to some people on Twitter. Now, I don't understand this in general, because people who judge others based on their race are lazy and dumb, all right? So whether or not a player succeeds is not in any way predicated on his race. So we also right now have quarterbacks that almost no one questions at all in Russell Wilson and in Patrick Mahomes, who are unbelievable, talented quarterbacks in the NFL right now, pocket passing quarterbacks with the ability, if they need to scramble, that no one questions. And I think what we've got going on here is a desperate need to find victims. People want for there to be people opposed to Lamar Jackson because he's black so desperately that if you say anything at all other than this guy is the greatest quarterback of all time, people pounce on you and say that you are racist. This is not a thing anymore in 2019. People my age and younger don't sit around judging quarterbacks based on their race. They judge them based on whether they win or lose. And quarterbacks are 1 billion% the most scrutinized and analyzed athletes in all of American sports. And so there are so many people out there who are so desperate to keep any kind of conversation about Lamar Jackson's talents going forward from existing that it is strangely, really strangely comparative only to Black Panther that I have seen. And it also represents the crazy expansion of racism to the point where now if you say anything remotely questioning, that is considered racism. Not actually racism, but questioning a quarterback's ability in the long range to be able to sustain his style of play based on all of the evidence before him, which suggests the answer is no, is somehow racist. This is crazy. This is crazy. It's also crazy that anybody believes this guy should be getting sized up for a damn Canton jacket based on having started 19 games. I just started off the show today talking about how in 1 year, Jared Goff has gone from genius all the way to totally looking like the most overpaid quarterback in the NFL. And the fact that Sean McVay has gone from the next Belichick to looking like a guy who's got a way overpaid salary structure where he's going to have to give Jalen Ramsey, Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, all way more money than they deserve. And so this is totally and completely crazy. And somebody just said in the comments, I'm going to block him, you don't like Lamar Jackson because he's black. If I was opposed to black quarterbacks, wouldn't I be opposed to Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes? That's such a lazy, dumb take. You desperately want for there to be racism that is holding up Lamar Jackson. There is such a demand for there to be racism. People want it so bad. People are desperately begging for it. It's why all these fake hate crimes are happening, because people crave victimization so much. They want for racism to be there and to be nasty and for it to be like the 1960s all over again. And I got news for you, it just ain't like that. Quarterbacks, regardless of what race they are, get analyzed to the nth degree, especially when they are young. And this is the truth, and nobody else will talk about it probably, but I am here to open your eyes and let the truth set you free. I am telling you right now. All right, here we go. Top 5, bottom 5 in the NFL. Top 5 right now. 5 best teams. Best team in the NFL is the 49ers. Second best team in the NFL, New England Patriots. If I were predicting right now, not a big surprise, my Super Bowl would be the 49ers and the Patriots going head-to-head. In the third spot, I have got, wait for it, the Baltimore Ravens. Oh my God, I've got the Ravens third. What a racist move. I don't have the Ravens number 1 over. How would I not have the Ravens number 1 overall? It's a huge sign that I am a huge racist, that I have the Baltimore Ravens as only the third best team in the NFL. What an unbelievably unmitigated, without defense, racist move to only say that the Baltimore Ravens are better than 29 of the 32 NFL teams right now. All right, and by the way, this is how people respond on social media. You got the Ravens third? That's unacceptable. You don't think Lamar Jackson is the greatest quarterback to ever play? He's better than Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees, and Russell Wilson combined. That's how good Lamar Jackson is. And if you don't believe that, you are racist. That's the way it works. This dude, you put all the best aspects of Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, and Drew Brees together, boom, you get Lamar Jackson. And if you don't believe that, you are racist. Number 1, 49ers. Number 2, Patriots. Number 3, I've got the Ravens. Number 4, I have got the Seahawks and Russell Wilson. And number 5, I've got Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. My top 5 right now at the end of week 12, the 49ers, the Patriots, the Ravens, the Seahawks, and the Saints. How about the list of sadness? How about the list of sadness? I'll tell you, boys and girls. Gather round. These are the 5 worst teams in the NFL right now. The Broncos are the 28th team. The Dolphins ranked 29th on my list. The Giants are 30th. The Redskins are 31st. And the Cincinnati Bengals are 32nd. I don't know what the Bengals are doing. They are bringing back Andy Dalton now after benching Andy Dalton. The Bengals can't even tank without looking like abject failures and completely a pathetic franchise. I want to give a shout out to all the Cincinnati Bengal fans still showing up for their games. You guys deserve Joe Burrow to be the number 1 overall pick, and you deserve for Joe Burrow to actually be good as well. So that is, my friends, the bottom 5 in the NFL. Finally, and I can't get over the ridiculousness of this, all right? This is one of the most ridiculous things that's going on out there right now. We have a situation where PETA, those losers, people for the ethical treatment of animals, whatever they're called, they tweeted out, "He looks miserable," all caps. "No dog deserves to be packed up, carted from state to state, and paraded in front of a stadium full of screaming fans. Animals are not mascots. UGA Athletics must retire UGA immediately. He should be at home with a loving family." To that, I say, PETA, you people are ridiculous. And also, more importantly, this dog, UGA, he gets better treatment than 99.9% of people in the world. Not animals. Better treatment than 99.9% of people in the world. More people to look after him. Better food. Better living conditions. Better medical care. All these people obsessed with animals. You guys at PETA are a bunch of undisguised losers. I appreciate you being so active on social media so I can ridicule you. Props to Georgia. I've got the Bulldogs against Georgia Tech this weekend, and I'll be down in Atlanta next weekend to watch them take on LSU, and Ugo will be there with me, and we'll have a damn fine time down in Atlanta. Kisses, boys and girls. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. I think I hit everything on my list of topics. I did, and I will see you guys shortly on Lock It In. My name is Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. Kisses. Love you. Thank you, Facebook. See y'all.